already know what time it is. It's your boy DJ Richie Skye back with some tea, interviews, recaps, and more. And be sure to check the links in the description of this video for trips, for books, one-on-one sessions, and more. Now let's get into the tea. What's going on, y'all? We're back in the building. And listen, I was trying to get my visuals correct for the day. Y'all, like, it's a little bit of tea popping today. It's a little bit of tea popping. So we're going to talk about a couple of things real quick. Before we get into that, if you guys haven't subscribed, go ahead and do so. We're going to be talking about Atlanta. We've got a little bit of Miami to talk about as well, because, you know, Carlos King did an interview with Kiki from the Real Housewives of Atlanta. The Real Housewives of Miami. And we just kind of need to discuss, like, what some of the things that Kiki said with regards to Guerdy. And I got some opinions about a couple of things, so I want to really dive into some of those things first. But listen, let's get into Atlanta first, because the girls are back and they are filming and the things are going on. So the screening premiere, I guess, for Drew Sidora's movie Run being filmed, apparently, right? So it says season 17 is back in production with some of the cast, Portia, Angela, and Phaedra, coming to support Drew at the screening of her film. Now, it's no shock to me that Shamia isn't there. To be quite honest with you, I feel like that's probably for the best, because I really don't think that Drew really sees it for Shamia at this point. And now with Shamia and Portia on the outs, I think that Drew and Portia coming together is, I mean, I can see it happening, right? So, of course, you know, you're going to also have Angela there. But also, who was there with Angela and Portia and Phaedra was Claudia Jordan. Yes, Drew Sidori and Claudia Jordan back in the building. What would you think about Claudia coming back to Real Housewives of Atlanta? I think she would mix in well with these ladies. Now, obviously, you know, I don't think that Claudia really sees it that much for Portia, but I would still be interested. I think that this is very, very interesting. I don't know why they haven't done anything with Claudia down in Texas with those Dallas ladies. They could do a nice little reboot of Real Housewives of Dallas with Claudia Jordan in the mix with that group. Just a thought. What do you guys think? So I wanted to give you guys that bit of tea that had been out. I guess this kind of popped off like either late last night or early this morning. So I wanted to discuss that a little bit so we can see clearly, you know, who some of the people are back in the building. Okay. So Atlanta news in the mix. I want to also talk about this. Well, let's go to Miami, then I'm going to come back to Atlanta, because I mean, the last one is kind of a little bit of a life advice type situation that I kind of want to get into. But I want to talk about this Kiki interview that she did with Carlos King. Now, this is on Carlos King's YouTube channel. And I pulled up this piece from Reality Entertainment TV because I just felt like it really encapsulated what I want to talk to you guys about with regards to the interview. You know, she unfollowed Guerdy, right? And we all know the situation that went down on the Real Housewives of Miami, where Guerdy and Julia have a falling out. Their falling out gets so bad at Marisol's, I think it was her I don't know, it was like some party for the, like, either after the ceremony, the wedding at the place, or what, I cannot recall. But here's the thing. At the event, when Julia and Guerdy, they get into it, mind you, they were close at one point, right? When Julia and Guerdy get into it, Julia ends up throwing a glass of water at Guerdy. Now, Kiki says that some of the water also splashed on her, but the intent and the bulk of the water landed on Kiki. Now, the rest of the table said zero, said nothing. Kiki, in her defense, she did get up and she went to go with Guerdy, and she told Alexia to try to contain Julia. Now, the frustration from much of the audience with Kiki literally lies in the fact that in her attempts to calm Guerdy down, because her stance, she says in this interview was that, well, Marisol wasn't going to leave because it was her event. Alexia is not going to leave because it's Marisol's event. Larsa's not going to leave because she's been cool with these ladies for so long. Julia's not going to leave because she's now up Alexia's butthole, right? I mean, I hate to say it that's what it seems like. And that's not what Kiki said, but she says they're really close now. I said that she was up the butthole. And so, like, I feel like she done crawled up in there, you know what I'm saying? And just laid eggs or something. I don't know. Anyway, so Kiki's like, I told Guerdy, I said, let's go. I will leave with you, right? But I'm going to tell you how that read on camera. It read on camera like this. And I think because of some of Kiki's interactions, where it felt like at times this season she would kind of go back and tell the girls things that Guerdy has said, it seems that Kiki wanted Guerdy, and because of our previous conversation, Guerdy to tone herself down, because she says that she feels like the other ladies feel like Guerdy does too much. Okay? So I want you to take that into account as you hear this discussion. Now, these two being, I mean, I could say the obvious about Kiki and Guerdy in the mix of the rest of the cast, but I think it's pretty much a given, right? So, given that, all of those things that I've just kind of went over, as Kiki is now trying to calm Guerdy down, and she says that she's not trying to, like, she makes it seem like she's not trying to downplay Guerdy's feelings in that moment, but that she just wanted her to be in a calm space. But based on the fact that previously she had said that the girls feel like Guerdy does too much, it kind of comes across like at times that Kiki, in her attempts to get along with everyone, wants to be accepted more so by the overarching group, and wants or feels that Guerdy also does need to tone things down. And in that regard, it comes across that way in that moment when you're telling her to calm down after she just had water thrown at her. Furthermore, the suggestion that she be the one to leave is, and Kiki in the interview attributes this to her growth, that because she suggested that she would leave with Guerdy, it's kind of like, this is what it read like when we watched the episode. It read like this. It read like, Guerdy, don't further antagonize Julia, because Julia was the aggressor and threw the water. So in Guerdy's defense of herself, standing up to the woman who threw water at her, totally unjustifiably so, it seemed to the audience, to me as a viewer, that Kiki is like, don't continue to antagonize the aggressor, because she might get aggressive again. And it just felt very much like, because nobody said anything to Julia in that moment about how bad that was, it really gave, we need to appease that lady over there. So you need to go. You need to go, girl. We need to get out of here. We need to run for cover. And it's like, the fact of the matter was, Guerdy was never going to try to get physical with that lady. She didn't. She never had to. She never did that. And I applaud Guerdy for standing up for herself. Now, she could have left. She could have left. I'm not going to lie. I mean, probably if I knew I wasn't going to, I don't know how I would react in that moment, because I feel like you don't know until you're in it. But I'm just telling you what it looked like to the audience, okay? Or at least to me. So as Kiki is sitting here saying, well, she was not going to, she could have, responded, and she makes it seem like in the interview, like the audience wants her to punch Julia. And we're like, no, that's not it. What we wanted you to do was to stand up for somebody in need, your friend who is in need at that moment. and tell that woman that this is wrong, and tell those other ladies to tell that woman that this is wrong. But nobody did that. Okay. So yeah, I mean, in this moment, Kiki, I have to say, love you. I love you down. I really do. I mean, I'm not coming at you like somebody crazy, but I do feel like in that moment you failed your friend. And now she's receiving backlash from it, for which, listen, I get we all can be frustrated about these things that happen on the show, but she says she's also getting some type of like, threats and stuff like that, which is totally uncalled for in this situation. So she feels like she doesn't deserve all that. But I feel like she sometimes is willfully missing the point. And she feels like after the episode aired, Guerdy stopped speaking to her. And I think that upon further reflection, Guerdy probably feels the same way the audience feels. And sometimes when you go through something and then other people see it for themselves, they echo your actual thoughts about it, and you realize you were right about how you felt about something. And that's probably why Guerdy stopped speaking to you. Now, the reason why she blocked Guerdy was because Guerdy apparently made some type of statement, allegedly implying that when Kiki told her to calm down, that she was making Guerdy look like the angry black woman. And to that I say, that is because of the trail of breadcrumbs that you left, Kiki. You previously told her that the ladies felt like she does too much. You said you felt like she does too much. So in that moment, it all leads up to this woman who is very much different from the rest of the ladies is doing too much. And you, who are relaying the message of the other ladies who are not like Guerdy, you're saying that to her in agreement with them. It does make you look like you were pointing that out to her. That's how the audience can possibly read it based on the series of events. So Kiki is now taking that to mean that Guerdy is calling her a racist. No, that's not what that means. You are wanting to take that in, and now you are victimizing yourself, and that's not the case. Okay. The case is that these are the optics, and you've got to recognize what the optics were, whether or not that was your actual intent. The series of events that led up to that moment lead the audience to think that that is what you were doing in order to acquiesce to the group norms, period. It's like, sociologically speaking, that's what it is. Now, you can say, well, that was not my intent, and that's probably where you should leave it. That's probably where you should leave it. Because do I feel like Kiki has bad intentions? No. But I do think that there is a bit of sociological pressure within this group to fit into this space, to continue to work within the confines of this show as a cast member, whether it be friend of or main character, period. And that requires the acceptance of the larger group, which does not include Kiki and does not include Guerdy. And furthermore, it should not actually include Marisol, because she, in fact, is not a main cast member. Now, I want to talk about this real quick because I've got some thoughts and feelings about it as well. Shout out to Queens of Bravo. Also, shout out to Reality Entertainment TV. Shout out to Carlos King for the past couple of stories. And now shout out to, like I said, the Bravo Shade Room for this. There's congratulations to Jalen Banks on becoming a police officer. I saw some comments that I felt like were kind of negative about, where this lands for people. Some people feel we're saying in the comments that, well, she married to help. And she does have a book coming out that has a similar title to that. And I don't know that that's going to do her any favors, but I do think it's going to make for an interesting read. And I might happen. I mean, should we do a book club? I don't know. Y'all let me know. Okay. Fallon, get me over a copy of that book. No, and here's the thing. I actually really do like this couple. I think that they're caught up in a situation that is just, it's just bigger than it's kind of a weird situation. I'm not even gonna lie, but the outcome is they found love. And so here we are. So she says, congratulations to my amazing husband. Watching you graduate and finally step into your dream of becoming a police officer has been nothing short of inspiring. You did it. Your hard work, dedication, and heart for serving others make me so proud to be your wife. This is only the beginning, my love. I'm so proud of you. A warm thank you to all of my family and friends that came to support him on this big day. Here's the thing. You know, I've have had this experience, not in the sense of like being with somebody in law enforcement per se, but having a family member who went into law enforcement, and so I understand I mean, there's a bit of risk associated with that, right? Especially in the time that we live in today. But I think the overall framework here for me to kind of really talk about is this idea of, you know, listen, to me, I'm proud of the brother. That's how I view it. At a certain point in time, you've got to make some decisions for your life that make sense in the moment, and you've got to be able to supply for your family. And if this is the best way for you to do it, you know, the work is honest, it pays the bills, period. And that's where I leave it. Okay. My thoughts and feelings about how they got together, what they did, you know, it's inconsequential at the end of the day, because at this point they are together. And I just think that, you know, when I see a post like this, and I'm so glad that the Bravo Shade Room, you know, they chose to congratulate him, because I think it's just commendable that you see somebody in this day and age, when sometimes people look down on, you know, 9 to 5s. And listen, I always talk about having your own thing, and I do think everybody should have their own thing, but I don't think that there's anything wrong with making the decision, even if it's for the short run or for the long run, to go to work, to make the money. And I think that that's admirable. And I think more people should be commending that type of behavior and that type of attitude. And I just wish that we lived in a world where people could say, you know what? I don't, you know, I felt how I felt about that situation, even if I'm a fan of, you know, Portia or Simon or whoever, but they can also recognize when somebody's making decisions to better their life. And hopefully, if this is what he's wanted to do, hopefully that works well for him. So I think now is the appropriate time to just send out more prayers and just say, hey, listen, be safe out there, and just take care of yourself and your family and do what you need to do. So I just wanted to bring you guys those stories today, because I always try to think about things that are resonating with me in terms of what we talk about on this channel, like what feels new, what feels interesting, what feels like something that we can sink our teeth into, and those were the topics for today. But yeah, so let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below, and of course, I will catch you in the next video.